Hello again guys, long time no see. I come to you today with another device review. Verizon sent me this. This is the Samsung Galaxy S4 to take a look at, and I thought I would give you my thoughts and impressions of it after using it for about a week and a half or 2 weeks. The Galaxy S4, in case you're not familiar with it, is a powerhouse, a beast of a device, the new Samsung flagship essentially. It comes running a 1.9 gigahertz quad-core processor. I believe it's the Snapdragon 600 Pro, but do feel free to correct me if I'm wrong there. Verizon doesn't specifically mention it on their site, and I just haven't been to the Samsung site yet to look it up. It has 2 gigabytes of built-in RAM, 16 gigabytes of built-in storage, though I believe there is a higher capacity version available. This is just the one they sent me. A 5-inch 1080p Super AMOLED Corning Gorilla Glass 3 screen. It comes with Bluetooth 4, it comes with Wi-Fi up to and including 802.11 AC, which is completely brand new and I think still in draft. Has a 2 megapixel front-facing camera capable of 1080p video and a rear-facing 13 megapixel camera, again 1080p video capable. A standard 2600 milliamp hour battery, and supposedly it's got an IR blaster built into it, though I was not able to find that or test that. It does look like it's got one up here at the top, but the software for it was not on the device, and they said specifically supposed to come with built-in IR blaster remote in software and everything. So moving on from the spec sheet to my impressions and thoughts about the device. First up, of course, it is extraordinarily powerful, blazing fast. It's a quad-core processor and 2 gigs of RAM. That is like the new flagship standard. That's what you should expect out of a device, at least if you want the high-end device, and that's what this is. It's very thin, it's very light. Honestly, when comparing it to my Galaxy Nexus, I picked this one up after not touching it for about a week, and it feels like a brick in the hand now, just comparatively, because this one is a little bit thinner. Actually, it's quite a bit thinner when you look at the back of the Galaxy Nexus, and it is extremely lighter. I mean, it's just night and day difference. But that said, it does still have a little bit of heft to it, so it's a pretty well-built device, although it is very plasticky. That's the way a lot of these newer Samsung devices are. Very slick plastic back. As far as the battery life's concerned, that's going to vary from person to person, of course. For me, it was able to make it through the entire day with no issues, and I would still have between 40 and 50% battery life left. And that is taking it into my day job, where I sit for 8 hours a day and occasionally pick it up and check it and look for emails and download new apps and things like that. And then bringing it home, where I use the Couch to 5K app to actually go out and run with it, use Bluetooth audio for my headphones and stuff like that. So not, a ton of usage. I'm, occasionally playing some games on it and video and stuff like that, and ending up with 50% battery life left at the end of the day. Not bad at all. The first few days that I had it, I was using it a little bit less, and I was able to actually have it go for 2 full days at one point. I don't think I have a screenshot of that, but very admirable battery life, and I would be willing to bet there's going to be an extended battery option you could put in this, so you could get even longer battery life. As far as the call quality, because it is a phone, and I do like to make sure to mention that, it was average. Nothing special, really. Might have been the area that I was in, might have been the call, the person on the other end of it or something, but occasionally there were some static and things like that, but like I said, it was probably just the area or the other person I was calling, or even just, the signal. As far as the cameras in the device, they seem to be pretty decent. That's one of the things that a lot of people seem to really like about it, but when you compare it to a lot of the other brand new devices or other newer devices like the HTC One, it still kind of pales by comparison. Samsung has built in a lot of really cool features into their software, if you like that sort of thing. And one of them that I found myself using quite a bit was their night mode in the camera. So you could take a picture in relatively low light and it would look terrible. It's a cell phone camera, you gotta expect that. But then you put it in night mode, take the same picture, and it would be significantly brighter, much less shadows, without flash or anything. Because it would not even allow flash in night mode. And hopefully I've been popping some images up on the screen to show you the comparisons between the two. Some of them were taken like very late in the evening in a darker room, and the other one I think was taken here in my office when it was still quite dark, and it was, so the pictures were all right. The out in bright daylight stuff, very clear, very nice. The zero shutter lag stuff is very, very cool. So you just hit the button, you've taken the picture. Now, in terms of the camera, what I found is focusing can be really, really slow. And specifically with the Samsung app, it doesn't appear to be much of an issue, but if I use something like a barcode reader, which I've been doing a lot because I've been logging my food, the barcode reader app was just slow. It would sit there and not focus at all. I left it for a minute or two, and it did not focus. I was going in and out, and it finally started to pick up, And again, that might have been the app, but I've used it on numerous other devices with no issues, so it either has to be something to do with this camera or the way it interacts with the app. But on the traditional built-in camera app, it was okay. I will say, though, having used the Jelly Bean app, I missed that one over this. And actually, since I forgot to mention it earlier, this is running Android Jelly Bean 4.2.2, latest and greatest, very much brand new. And I even forgot to show you, I took a couple of video clips that I'll show you from the front and rear facing cameras, so here we go. Okay, so here's a quick test with the front facing camera on the Galaxy S4. This should be recording at 1080p. At first glance at the footage, it looks like it's a little bit of an odd color. It's kind of a reddish color, but very clear. Hopefully the audio sounds good. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And this is some footage from the rear-facing 1080p camera. You will probably see a little bit of a difference. Usually there's a slightly better camera on the back. Hopefully they're the same. I don't know. But this is just something similar to what I was doing a second ago so that you can see and hear the difference. Let's take a little quick pan around outside. You can see where I'm planting some grass here in the back because we had some new dirt brought in. Yeah, so colors look okay from this angle. Looks a little bit jumpy, but that may not play into the footage. It may just be some image stabilization. But yeah, let me know what you think about this. Hopefully the audio sounds the same or a little better maybe. Now here's a little bit of footage from the front-facing camera again. This is indoor under my studio lights, so things are bright, and this is one of the most ideal situations, I think. This is the same setup that I've got for my DSLR that I use. Things look very clear, but again, it looks kind of red, so maybe that's just me. Maybe it's a white balance issue, but yeah. And this is the rear-facing camera under the studio lights. Same setup. Honestly, I've got this right in front of the lens of my DSLR, so it should have exactly the same scenario as the rest of the video. Things seem to look pretty good so far, but the color reproduction does appear to be a little bit better on the rear-facing camera as well. So this is just sort of the ideal lighting scenario. I've got two bright lights here in front of me, and yeah, the camera held at about arm's length. Yeah, and after looking at those clips myself, the front-facing camera appears to have a bit of a red hue to it. Maybe something wrong in the settings, maybe something wrong with the camera itself, but the rear-facing looks great. Very good color reproduction. The sound appears to be pretty decent, but I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments below what you think of that. Moving right along in terms of gaming performance, because I do like to mention that as well, it's a quad-core processor, 2 gigs of RAM. Everything should play just fine, and for the most part everything did. I played games like Minecraft, I played a little bit of the Iron Man game that just came out, and of course I played some of the old standbys like Fruit Ninja and Temple Run, and everything played very, very smoothly. The Iron Man game had a little bit of quirkiness in terms of starting up, but I think a lot of that has to do with the game itself, just jitteriness and kind of weirdness. And after having played it for probably 10 minutes, maybe less than that, the top of the device, right up here, was getting very, very, very hot. Like, it was hard to hold it with this hand just because it was so hot. Now that said, if you're not playing intensive 3D games, it's probably not going to be an issue. Minecraft is significantly less intensive, and it did not seem to have the same kind of issue. And other ones like Fruit Ninja and stuff, they're not really intensive, didn't have any issue with that. And overall, that's really about all there is to say about it in terms of traditional review. There were some quirks with the device that I wanted to go ahead and make sure to mention. Most of these are very personal to me. They're kind of niche things that you may not come across if you were to have this device. First one is Bluetooth. Bluetooth 4, that's great. It's actually able to sync up with my Fitbit device, which is very cool because there are only a few devices that can sync up with this right now. The Galaxy Nexus is supposed to have Bluetooth 4 in it, but Android by default does not support Bluetooth 4, which means that the Galaxy Nexus does not. But the problem with Bluetooth on it was just kind of flaky. Occasionally I'd have it paired up to my car, to my stereo in my car, and it would just, cut out a little bit here and there. It seemed to have some weird range issues too. If I was out walking or running with the Bluetooth headphones on, if it would get beyond like a foot away from my ear, it would cut out and then finally quit. And I've gotten the Galaxy Nexus, I do the exact same setup, and it has much, much better range. That may be the difference between Bluetooth 4 and Bluetooth 2, because the Galaxy Nexus, I think, is using Bluetooth 2. But the audio reproduction from Bluetooth was just fine. No real issues there. Just the occasional cutout a little bit here and there. Pretty much, it seemed when it was doing anything with the processor, the Bluetooth would cut out just a little bit. So if you received an email or something, or if you unlock the device. Sometimes the Bluetooth would cut out. Additionally, a little bit of a quirk, the Samsung keyboard that comes with it, I'm not a fan. The keys are teeny tiny, which means that it should be easier to avoid mistakes, but I found myself making even more mistakes. It was just uncomfortable, and the predictive text didn't automatically insert. It said it was supposed to, and it just did not. My Galaxy Nexus again, no problems there. I switched over to the Google keyboard. They just released it in the Play Store, and it's been beautiful ever since. Use the built-in, like the Android keyboard instead of the Samsung one. No issues at all. Additionally, and going back to my thing about running, the bezel on the device, significantly thinner than on previous ones. So it's very, very thin. You can see it really well with this white frame, and that's not necessarily a great thing in my opinion. For you, it may be great because you get a little bit more screen real estate, but for me, when I'm running, I'm generally holding the phone like this, and your fingers can touch the screen when you do that without necessarily meaning to. So the Couch to 5K app I use has a button right there that skips on to the next thing. And actually there's one right here that when I'm trying to reach across the phone, this large 5-inch screen, I hit stuff here with the palm of my hand instead. So you kind of have to hold it at a weird angle that you can't see to touch that side of the screen one-handed. That's more of a quirk with me because my fingers aren't long enough and because, yeah, that's just the way I hold a phone. You might want to get your hands on it to see if this is going to be a good fit for you. Now, getting back to the Samsung-specific software, I've talked about how there's a lot of very customized stuff in there. There's things like air gestures where you can move your hand over it in the gallery and it'll swipe over to the next picture, and you can lay it down on a table and put your hand over it and the screen will come on. That's all well and good. I honestly found myself using that whatever it's called when you lay it down and you move your hand over it and it wakes up for a second to show you a quick glance of the stuff on the device. I found myself using that a little bit, but all of the rest of it just seemed kind of gimmicky, and I think I've said that before. I'm going to swipe my hand over the device and have it swipe through pictures. I'm going to do this and it's going to take a screenshot. That's cool, but it's not necessarily useful. Some of the other things like Smart Stay, that was kind of useful, because I could actually be looking at the device and it not turn off, but then as soon as I'd look away, it would turn off. So that's kind of a good thing. The Smart Pause, I think, is something completely brand new, where you can be watching a video, and as long as you're looking at the video, it stays going. But then when you look away, it's supposed to stop. I tried this out a little here and there, and it may have been the lighting where I was sitting. It may have been the fact that I wear glasses and it might have had a little reflection on it or something. It was hit or miss, like extremely hit or miss. If I turned my entire head away, it would sometimes pause, but anything else, like if I just looked down or if I closed my eyes, it wouldn't stop. So it still feels like it's kind of early. I know it's going to be difficult to do with my glasses, but again, just more gimmicky and showy than actual usefulness. And honestly, still on the vein of Samsung software there, the lock screen. The lock screen is fine, it's TouchWiz stuff, but... and this is just completely me being nitpicky. If you unlock the device, and I'm going to try it right now, it's said one time, and then immediately a second later, it updates to the current time. So whatever the last time the lock screen was on, that's the time that it shows. And that does sort of go to show that it goes ahead and shows you something as opposed to updating. I'm not a fan of that because more often than not, I'll pick the phone up and do that to look at the time, and it's not showing the right time. So I immediately get annoyed every time I unlock the device. And the last thing to mention that I wasn't a big fan of course I mentioned it a little bit already, the back is very, very slippery. Same thing with the Galaxy S3, just like I said when I did the review of that. So if you're not careful with it, you'll drop it. I did that. I only did it one time, but when I was out running, I was holding it very tightly, so that wasn't an issue. But I was out at an event with my family, and I went to take a picture, and you move it just a little bit and it becomes very slippery, and it juggled a little bit and then plop. But fortunately nothing broke. There's a little bit of a scuff here on one corner, but everything else is just fine. I guess that goes to sort of show the aluminum frame and or whatever the frame is made of. It's a solid material. And then plastic and Gorilla Glass, not a bad combination. Overall, I've been going on for a really long time here. My opinion of the device, extremely powerful, extremely fast, lightweight, thin, big, beautiful, bright screen. Samsung software still leaves a little bit to be desired for me, but this will get the job done for 90% of users that want a powerful device, as long as you don't mind the occasional little bit of quirkiness, like some Bluetooth weirdness with audio, and maybe the bezel being a little bit thinner than I would like. And the keyboard, as I said before, quick and easy to fix. Just go get the Google keyboard and use that instead. And actually, after looking at the camera footage, I would definitely give this a recommend if you're looking to have a very good smartphone camera, so you don't have to carry a separate camera in your pocket. I could use this for vlogging, you know, all day and all night, just hold it out in front of me and film. Now, is that going to be worth the price? If you're buying it off contract, it's going to be something like $650, I think. If you're buying it on contract, it's around $200, maybe $150 if you can find it on sale somewhere. So if you're staying on contract and renewing under a contract, that's great. I could definitely justify that. For $600, it's going to be a lot harder to justify, but most of the smartphones out there off contract are about $600, so yeah. Now, as far as this versus the Google Edition, haven't had a chance to get my hands on the Google Edition. I'm hoping that they somehow put the Bluetooth 4 stuff into the Google one as well, simply because, like I said, Bluetooth 4, not really available in Android yet. But Samsung and HTC and some others that have Bluetooth 4 have started putting it into their own OS, you know, into TouchWiz. And of course, if you go with the Google Edition, you're not going to get all of this fun Samsung stuff that you may or may not be interested in. If you don't like it, Google Edition's great. If you do like it though, this is not a bad way to go if you don't mind being on Verizon. Personally, the Verizon service has been great for me. No dropped calls, extremely fast internet connection speeds. In all honesty, right after I got this phone, I went to Sevierville, Tennessee with my family, and while I was there, I uploaded a video using it in the middle of nowhere. I had 4G. I had barely had 4G, but I did have 4G connectivity down there in the mountains, and I was able to upload the video very, very quickly, actually faster than I can upload here at home. I was getting 500 kilobits a second upload speed, kilobytes a second upload speed, there we go. And here at home, I get somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 to 350 kilobytes a second. So yeah, for me, big recommend, as long as you don't mind those few little quirks that I mentioned there at the end. Anyway, let me know what you think about the Galaxy S4 in the comments below if you feel like sharing some information about it. Let me know if I missed anything, because I probably did. And that's going to be about all from me for today. As always, thank you so much for watching. Sorry this video was so long, and I will see you again in the near future. Bye, guys.